watching the movie The Help, I noticed many different contrasting themes, especially among the white and African American women. Two of these that I will look over today are, one, having an excessive ego, and two, truthful speaking. First, having an excessive ego. One of the negative yet most realistic themes is Hilly, one of the main characters, who does indeed have an excessive ego. When you think of the classic stuck-up white woman from the South, let me tell you, that's just what Hilly is. Hilly is one of the main characters. She is a high-class, white, Southern woman. She will willingly put anything on the line to keep up her social ranking and maintain a popular status. For example, in the movie The Help, when word gets out about her eating Minnie's pie, which contains Minnie's waste, she goes about all cost to make sure that the news will not get out. Even if it means not suing Skeeter, who wrote a book about Hilly and her friends and The Help, even if it means not suing Skeeter in order to maintain this status. Personally, I think the theme that I took the most from was truthful speaking. Telling the truth is not an easy thing, and even more so when telling the truth costs you your reputation and possibly your life. The Help, as the maids are referred to in the movie, understand the need to risk sharing their experiences with working for white families in order to help African American women in society. They understand the importance of telling the truth. For example, after writing this book that Skeeter wrote, which was filled with many truthful experiences about African American women who had worked for white families, one of the maids ponders that one must tell the truth even when it hurts. In order to love your enemy, you must tell the truth. This is a beautiful connection because it means that the truth has something to do with loving people. Often, it is understood that staying neutral on a topic or saying the right thing is loving someone. However, based on what this maid is saying, this is not true. To tell the truth means to love your enemies. After the maids all share their experiences, there's a scene of the movie showing the maids talking together. And this scene is striking because the maids are together in a different way. They're together with more honesty and more joy, knowing that they are not the only ones who have lived this sort of abuse or lifestyle. Truthful thinking is something that today we can take much from. Often, we only try to be politically correct, and we don't risk standing up for the truth. But after looking at these maids who risked their family's reputation, their own reputation, their jobs, and even their life, we can take from it that we too must stand up for the truth, especially when it's clear truth, even if it goes against the cultural norms. So from looking at an excessive ego on the white women's side and truthful speaking among the maids, these are only two of the servant speaker concepts that I noticed. But throughout the movie, there are many servant speaker concepts that catch your attention and that we indeed can take much from. Now my peer Gabe will tell us about two more servant speaker concepts that he noticed from the movie The Help.
As my peer before me said, there are many aspects in this movie that relate to the servant speaker topics. I will point out just two that stuck out to me in particular. The first one was storytelling, and the second one is speaking up for others. Storytelling played a key role in this movie. It was a main focus throughout this movie. The two central maids in this movie are Aibileen and Minnie. These are two African American women who live in Jackson, Mississippi, and they work as maids in white houses. In the movie, their roles are portrayed very accurately, in that they maintain their white houses, they are paid next to nothing, and they basically raise the white children. But they also keep their minds or their voices quiet, and they don't speak what is on their minds, in fear that they will lose their jobs, their lives, and even their families. Now, as I said before, storytelling was a major part in this movie. I saw it when Skeeter asked Aibileen if she could interview her and tell her life story to see what the maids are going through. Now, at this time period, there's a great amount of black prejudice against blacks. So blacks were not allowed to converse with whites outside of their own workplace. So for this reason, Aibileen was hesitant and cautious at first because she was in fear of her job, her life, and her family. But eventually she agreed and gave the interview to Skeeter. Further out through the movie, more and more maids join Skeeter and begin telling their life stories, and eventually Skeeter has gathered 20 or more maids telling their life stories. With these stories, Skeeter finally sends these to a publisher in New York, where the stories are turned into a book and published, and the book, The Help, is published. Now, as I said before, this was a dangerous time for blacks. So to protect themselves, Minnie had told the story of how she had fed Hilly her waste in her chocolate pie. This protected them because, as Margaret said, Hilly had an excessive ego and would go at any lengths to maintain her status and keep it from getting out that this story was about Jackson, Mississippi. As you can see from this example, you can see that storytelling played a key role throughout this movie. Now, the second aspect of the servant speakers that I saw in the movie was speaking up for others. I saw this in Skeeter. Skeeter had grown up on the other side, quote-unquote, of society, and had been raised in a well-to-do family, but was mostly raised by her maid, Constantine, which made her more keen on and interested and involved in the lives of the black maids, and she wanted to know more about them. But an example of how she spoke up for others in the movie is when she took the risk to be put in jail or losing her job, and she chose to interview the black maids. Now in the movie I said she was raised by her maid Constantine. This made her more aware of what the maids were going through, and so she wanted to see and speak up for those maids who didn't have a voice. But her first steps to speaking up for others was gathering an amount of maids and asking them about their life stories. Now, as the movie progresses, the number of maids eventually grows, and she has an enormous amount of stories to tell. So she sends these to a publisher in New York, who makes these public and turns them into the book, The Help. Now, because of this story, the community and basically the whole country was aware of what these black maids were going through down in Mississippi. This became an immense topic for all over the country. But to protect themselves, as I said before, Minnie had entered the story of how she fed Hilly her waste. And so this protected them from any racists or losing their jobs. Now in the movie we saw that storytelling was a major part and that speaking up for others. Most importantly, speaking up for others. In our society we don't do this as much because we are fear of being talked about or being judged. But in today's society, we need to do this more and more every day.